Now, combining queries together is great, but do you have to really load each individual month together so you can use the append queries? And you might not be too surprised to find out the answer is no, you don't. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to move March and April out of this folder into a spare folder. So we just have January and February. Instead of loading Excel, instead of loading text, CSV, I'm going to click on the more ... and the fifth item down is a folder. So this imports information about your folder. So I'm going to click connect, and it wants your folder path. Now if you click on browse, it's not the best way to browse through your folder structure. It's just not something I like. So I've done it to get to there, but what I generally do is just go to Microsoft Explorer and just copy the path from there and paste it into here. So, just as a reminder, currently this contains 2 files. So click OK, and the computer then says, oh, there are 2 files. And it gives the name, gives the extension, that's the bit after the last dot. Data access, date modified, date created, attributes, those are things like read only, archive, and the entire folder path. Now I can combine and transform data. And in fact I will, just to show you what happens. So the computer then imports all of those datas together, all of those data files, and makes it into one big query. And you can see there's all these sampler files, these helper queries as well, sample file, transform file, and so forth, that it uses. And you can see at the end of the day, we've got the source name, so that's the name of the file, the date, subtype, and out, as we had previously. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of those. I'll also delete these 2 groups as well, and do this again. But instead of combining them, I'm just going to have the raw data as it was. And you'll see why in a few minutes, because the computer does a lot of steps to combine those, and maybe 1 or 2 of those steps just requires a bit of tweaking for what you want. So I'm just going to transform the data rather than combine and transform. So here we have our data together. So we've got name, extension, date access, date modified, everything that we've just seen. We've got attributes as a record, so we can expand that if we so wish. And you can see all of the various attributes which are available. So if I just expand, say the size, the kind, whether it is hidden, you can see the sort of information that you can get. Now, the content, the actual data, is in a binary. So we've had a record earlier over here. Well, this is a binary. And what we can do is we can combine the files by clicking on this double down arrow icon, either of them. So if I do that, it now opens up all of these files. So you can see it's saying, well, what's your sample file? And here are all of the data type detections. Because it's a CSV, it's giving me a delimiter as before. And I can even say, if there are any files that give you errors, skip those. So here we have the end data. Source name, date, subtype, and out. But we've only got the source name. Remember, we started off with name, extension, date access, and so forth. Suppose you wanted the folder path, because this process is recursive. So it goes through this folder and then goes through additional folders. So maybe I've got a folder called January from Finance, and I've got another folder, February from IT, let's say. And that's where these folders were, all these datas were. If I go back and I refresh this, you'll see that the folder path now contains January from Finance, February from IT. But when we get through to the end result, it doesn't. Suppose I really needed to have that folder name. Okay, no problem. What I can do is go back over the steps that it was doing, and you notice one of those steps is removed other folders. So it was doing other columns, it was doing the remove other columns here. So what I'm going to do is go into those settings, and I'm going to put back the folder path. Click OK. So now the folder path is part of this, and when I go all the way to the end, the folder path is still part of this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to split this column by the delimiter. I'm just going to split at the most right-handmost delimiter. So obviously, that just gets rid of the last slash that was there. So I don't want this, I'm going to remove this column. You'll notice I'm using the right-hand mouse button. There are plenty of these activities, mostly in the Home tab, that are there on the right-hand column. I'm now going to transform this again. I'm going to split the column again by the backslash. Again, I just want the right-handmost delimiter. I'm going to get rid of everything else. And that's what I want. That is my subfolder. So I can see the February information is from IT, January is from finance. And the great thing is, because this is a macro, because this is a series of actions, if I add more information to it, to the source data, I just need to click on refresh and it gets added into my final thing. How much time might you be saving on this? So again, I'll just add one more, so maybe April was also from IT. Refresh, and instantly we get the information. So now we can close and apply. So I want a matrix. I want a matrix with the subfolder in the rows and the data in the columns, and just drill down, and the out in the values. Now, if I had new data, suppose I had new data in May, in June, all of these macros would automatically be done. I only have to set it up the once, and I get the information here. So, combine files, very useful when done in conjunction with new source, more, and folder. Now, I've been using CSV files. You don't have to use CSV files. You can be using Excel files. You can be using other types of files. But the important thing is you can get a folder listing of any particular folder. And you can do this from Excel as well. This isn't specifically a Power BI thing. You can do this in Excel. And within just a few seconds, really, you get a listing of all of the information that's there. And then if you want, you can combine the relevant files together. So that is combine files, getting information from a folder and combining it into one query.